Not sure if you hear the sirens going outside my window, but for some reason there appears to be some trouble in Vancouver. Let's give it up for our friend over here, NHL Master, who yesterday on my Domi trade Jets potential-ish idea video, I don't really know what I'm talking about here, he suggested to me a topic that I actually had no idea about. One that I actually ended up researching a little bit more and found a little bit more supplemental information towards that makes this whole idea even more interesting. Let's take a look at NHL Master's comment right here. He asks me, can you make a video on the possibility on a trade that almost sent MIRO HEISKANEN for Erik Karlsson? And I read this and I was like, whoa, okay, that happened? Let me just do some research over here and get into this topic because, oh man, MIRO HEISKANEN for Carlson? Now, to recap, we already spoke about Erik Karlsson in a video that I made a few weeks ago, and I know it's a few weeks ago even though Carlson plays on the Sharks and the Sharks are not great. I made a video a few weeks ago talking about how I was wrong about the Erik Karlsson trade, where I reflected on my ideas that I brought upon myself and my YouTube audience in, I believe it was September of 2018. I know it was 2018, but I'm pretty sure it was September, where the Erik Karlsson trade happened. And I rushed home and I made a video talking about how the Sens absolutely got fleeced. They gave up who I was saying could have potentially been the best offensive defenseman talent-wise ever for just some stuff. And a first-round pick that didn't really seem all too great. But then, in hindsight, with the Sharks playing as poorly as they did in 2020, with the way Erik Karlsson's contract turned out, and with the way that draft pick is turning the Ottawa Senators into a potential first and second overall drafting team this year, my video recently said that I was wrong about that trade. But let's take a time machine over here to an article published all the way back here on bardown.com. This article doesn't have a date attached to it, but the tweet that is in this article is dated back to November of 2018. And this article actually talks about how Mark Methot, a Dallas Stars defenseman at the time, was almost reunited with Erik Karlsson, one of his former teammates on the Ottawa Senators. The article talks about how they were almost reunited by the idea of a Dallas Stars trade that would have acquired Erik Karlsson in Texas. However, it didn't go on because they didn't want to give up MIRO HEISKANEN, a smooth, puck-skating defenseman that found his way into a top-4 role on the Stars' defensive core. In fact, Mark Methot said this about MIRO HEISKANEN just a little bit after playing with him, it appears. Now that I've seen him play, I wouldn't trade him for Carlson either. He's got so much potential. The best part of the game is his head. He's such a good pro at his age, it's incredible. At that age, I was playing junior hockey. Methot even said this about the way Heiskanen plays in comparison to how Carlson plays. They're both extremely confident with the puck. Miro's obviously very young, but I can only imagine what his projection will be like in 5-6 years. They're both very calm, very smart with the puck, and they both have fantastic vision. So right away, there is a Dallas Stars player saying, yeah, you know, I've played with Erik Karlsson before. I was his teammate for quite some time. But this guy, MIRO HEISKANEN, out of the Dallas Stars just as a teenager, is so good that I would not trade him for a player who was regarded as probably one of the best in the entire league at the time. So, there's that. From this standpoint, it's easy to see why the Dallas Stars would not want to trade him, and in hindsight, it's definitely easy to see why the Dallas Stars didn't want to let that golden token go. But back then, there was some criticism from outlets saying, hey, you know, why are you not trading this guy for Erik Karlsson? It is Erik Karlsson you're trying to trade for. Take a look at this article from NBCSports.com back in July of 2018. No prospect should hold up an Erik Karlsson trade. Now, this was written and published before the Carlson trade, But this article takes shots at the Dallas Stars for not trading Miro Heiskanen. It shows off a few tweets from Chris Stevenson. Stars not willing to include Heiskanen in a trade is shaping up as potential deal breaker. Pierre Dorion is apparently sticking to his guns. And we have Sean Shapiro over here too. Trading Heiskanen has been one of the roadblocks for the Stars and a potential Erik Karlsson trade. The Stars do not want to part with him. And it says, given the nature of a salary-capped league, it is understandable why prospects are so valuable. When they first hit the NHL, they make peanuts compared to more established players, and can provide immense value based on that, if they are as good as you hope. You do not want to trade them for just any random player. In Dallas's case, a player like Heiskanen has immense potential and could be a foundational player for a long time if he develops as expected. But do you know who would definitely be a foundational piece for a long time? Erik Karlsson. Now, this article, of course, is just presenting one viewpoint, but a very interesting paragraph that it does say says this. All this comes after it was reported that the Vegas Golden Knights' unwillingness to part with 2017 first-round pick Cody Glass was one of the holdups. You click on that link, it goes to a 31 Thoughts page from Elliot Friedman all the way back from June 10th of 2018. You do Control F and you look for Glass, and you see thought number 10. The Vegas Golden Knights also came close to acquiring Erik Karlsson at the deadline. After seeing how the Capitals locked down the neutral zone and point men in the final, you can see how they might revisit something like this. Word is, one of the biggest hang-ups at the end was Cody Glass, drafted 6th overall last June. Vegas didn't want to include him. The Knights have just one pick in the top 3 rounds, and since they're still creating a prospect pool, a Carlson deal could be very tricky. It's why they're being linked to John Carlson, because he only costs you money. So, hold up, okay. When the Vegas Golden Knights were going to the finals in their first year, I do remember the Erik Karlsson trade rumors. I do remember that being very prevalent. Erik Karlsson being added to the new team on the block, and rumors about that circulating like high noon. But I didn't realize that it was actually Cody Glass that was the stoppage here. In the same way the Dallas Stars ended up not doing the trade because they didn't want to part with Heiskanen, apparently the same thing could be said about Cody Glass. Now, whether or not that is something that you think is not necessarily right, in hindsight, is one thing, but I respect the Vegas Golden Knights for putting their faith on their top prospect. Now, this is easy to see why, especially after a few years, because the Vegas Golden Knights, they had 3 prospects in the first round from the 2017 draft, and they traded away 2 of them. One of them was to Ottawa. So, it's not surprising to me that they picked one. They said, okay, out of Nick Suzuki, Erik Brannstrom, and Cody Glass, we gotta at least stick with one. Cody Glass will be that guy. We're not gonna trade this guy for anything. But it is kind of interesting to me how they were so willing to part with Brannstrom later on in exchange for Mark Stone. If you switch up the positions and all that, I would think that Brannstrom and Carlson would make much more sense if you were to trade those two. But obviously I get why the Ottawa Senators would target Cody Glass in this case. So that has been our interesting little dive here on trades that almost happened, but didn't, because the Ottawa Senators were asking for guys that the teams they were trying to trade with didn't want to part with. This includes Miro Heiskanen of the Dallas Stars and Cody Glass of the Vegas Golden Knights. Whether or not you would say that these kinds of trades would be fair today is one thing, but another thing's for sure. Erik Karlsson's stock was rising up and up and up. He was being shopped like Shopify. And with the way that we've seen Erik Karlsson and his contract and the team that he's playing for turn out in 2 years, it's really, really funny to take a look at that. Now, Cody Glass, I will say I don't think he's as valuable as Miro Heiskanen is. I think Heiskanen is the most valuable asset we've talked about in this entire video here. But at the same time, long-term future potential with your prospects is certainly something to value, and that is what the Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars did. So comment down below what you think about these ideas here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Such as Rossi 99, and bye.